Welcome back, number 25, Kevin Stevens.
We're all gonna have choices in life. 28 years old, never did a drug in my life. Someone handed me something. So one 30-second decision I made changed the past of my life. For the next 24 years, my life went like this. We're on TV now, so it's kind of
scary.
You know, our radio and our podcast can see on TV, which is kind of new to us. So painfully, like I sat with you guys for a long time, guys, and sat there and say it's never going to be me. You know, now I'm sitting here talking to you guys because it was me. I know how those people feel because I've been in those situations where I've been stuck, and when you're in it, you can't see it. It's very hard. It's a very difficult thing, addiction and substance abuse, and people need help. And we have to get out there and kind of educate people and try to do the best we can to help them. To Crosscheck. I am Kevin Stevens. Got a great show today. We got our first musical guest in the studio today, Paulie V's brother, Joe.
Oh boy,
Joe and his group. We're looking forward to hearing those guys. And we had a young comedian here. He's a big hockey guy, so he was great also. So I'll turn it over to my buddy Andy, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, we do have a great show planned, and I'm still laughing about our pre-show.
Don't Google.
We're not going to talk about it right now, but
Pre-show antics.
Which is a must.
We're going to be doing a blooper.
Yeah,
a blooper reel for our 100th show, which will be coming up.
It is a blooper too.
But as Kevin said, we will hear from our friend Josh Dolan, who is a local Boston comedian and musical group Selfish Steam, Paulie's brother's band. But before we get started with today's guest, let's say hello to our friend Alex Bezanson.
Hello.
Abington native, founder of the Show Your Bottles of Water.
Abington Substance Awareness Coalition.
Very nice, very nice. And then Alyssa Horton.
Just the person.
The queen, recovery specialist.
Nothing.
Google expert, looking up Kev's shirts and all kinds of stuff. All right. How you guys doing? Everybody good?
We're doing good this week.
Good. So there was some good news out there. We learned that in this past week's Wall Street Journal, overdose deaths have declined. The CDC data predicts that there were nearly 69,100 drug deaths in a 12-month period ending last November, which is actually down from almost 72,300 deaths ending November 7, 2017. So one of the things they're attributing to this is naloxone, and they're saying that in places like Rhode Island, Ohio, and PA, this is happening. And so they actually asked the Allegheny County Chief Medical Examiner in Pittsburgh area why, and he said in a word, Narcan. But yet some people still oppose this, and it says it encourages risky behavior. So my first question to you, Kevin, is shouldn't everybody have Narcan?
Yeah, I think Narcan's essential to have. I don't think the problem is really getting that much better. I just know that Narcan saves so many more people. I think, when I was out there was no Narcan. So if I overdosed, I was going to die. Now there's all these people are overdosing and people are getting saved. And the biggest thing with this is, some people do it over and over, then they get it. There's that hope, and it keeps people alive. Why wouldn't we? I know it gets monotonous, the same people sometimes, but when do we ever know when someone's going to get sober or someone's going to get clean? You got to keep these people alive. And I think Narcan, I've talked to cops, they saved 9 out of 10 people or 8 out of 10 people. That's why this number is down. Right. I think the usage and, the fentanyl, I think it's all still there and it's still a real big problem. But I think Narcan is saving people, and I think it's, essential that people have it, yeah.
No brainer. Actually, they're saying schools, even in Alabama, they're picking it up. Like everywhere, it's picking up.
Well, anyone in Massachusetts can get a prescription now. You can walk into any drugstore and get Narcan.
Right.
So, actually, without a prescription is what I meant. I don't think we have less use. Like Kevin said, I think we have less deaths. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate. And I do think that some people, it's going to take a few tries of them overdosing and being saved before they realize this isn't just a crutch, I can keep doing it.
Right.
And I think you are seeing that with some people, I think. But I definitely think every school should have it. If you have anyone in your house that you think might be a risk, I think you should carry Narcan. We have it with the Abington Substance Awareness Coalition, and I think it should be available to everyone. In Massachusetts and Plymouth County, if there is an overdose and they're revived with the Narcan, all the police chiefs in Plymouth County have come up with a program where they do the follow-up and try to get them in.
Okay.
And we're actually going to have the DEA on and sometime in the next couple of weeks, and he'll go more into that. But Narcan is saving these people.
For sure. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so give me your take.
I agree. I don't think that the use is down, but Narcan is revived. Right? We were all worried. When I got into recovery, there wasn't as many deaths. There's if you pass away, there's no chance of recovery.
Right.
So if it saves them as many times as it needs to, like there's a bunch of different studies on the fact that there's no necessary number of how many times it takes, but that every time it increases the chance of getting into recovery and staying into recovery. So I think Narcan's a necessity, and I don't think it should just be somebody that might have an inkling that they'll somebody in their household. I think everybody needs to carry it. I mean, you could see somebody overdose and like it's been in the newspaper,
in
at
a
McDonald's,
parking lot,
in a
exactly.
bathroom at McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, anybody really. I mean, I think as humankind, we have a responsibility to take care of one another. So, if you're passing somebody in the street and they're overdosing and you have Narcan, like you are essentially a hero. So to carry that, it's just being a prepared hero.
Right.
I think, especially since it's an epidemic that's on every corner and every street and
especially
every
because
business.
of the potency of it today.
Yeah, and I don't think
Exactly.
any addict, I don't think we go into, when we're using heroin or fentanyl, I don't think any of us think we're going to go down. It's not like,
No.
it's not like I'm going to do this and hopefully I won't go down, then I won't get Narcan. It's not like we don't know, as my brain's not telling me I'm going to use this stuff and I'm going to overdose,
Right.
You're using because you use and you're an addict. And if that happens, there's a way to save your life. And I don't think as an addict, there's some addicts that, do the same thing and they don't really care if they live or die. There's a lot of people, and some people get to that point,
Mm-hmm.
But now, I think it's so important that, we all have Narcan because anything can help save a life and give someone hope. That's, that's another chance, right?
Right. I mean, it's just, I don't see any downside to the whole thing. And
No, and I mean, I can understand what Alex said too about the reckless behavior. It is like, oh well, I have Narcan, so like I can keep doing this. But I mean, even without the Narcan, like the other choice is dying or leaving your life into other people that are full of fear, right? So like when I was out, you hear a lot of stories like people left people because they were afraid that they were going to get caught, and there was a lot of accidental deaths just based on the fact of the fear of like having law involvement or anything. And a lot has changed around that stuff, but the fear of the individual has not. Just because you change the things around them, you got to remember these are irrational, insane individuals. Like basically the best way to describe it to anybody, like how to understand an alcoholic or an addict, is like think of any sane thought you have and go the total opposite way. That's how I think. That's how we think. So when you're doing logical answers, it's not computing.
right.
You know what I mean?
Do you remember that guy we had on our radio show who, the guy from Baltimore who was like, oh, they have Narcan parties. He was like so anti-Narcan. Do you remember him?
Oh, yeah. I remember that character.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I don't understand. I mean, you've been in the business for a long time. So,
I never heard of a Narcan party.
Yeah. It's just,
I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not in Baltimore, so I don't know what they're doing
Yeah,
in
they do,
Baltimore.
yeah.
But I don't know what a Narcan party is.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, does that mean at a party where people are using drugs, they have a lot of Narcan on them? Like, or is there
Yeah, I don't-
literally like, oh, hey, we have Narcan,
Yeah, I
so
don't
OD
even-
all you want? Like, what?
I don't know
I
why
mean,
it
it's
was
crazy enough, I guess,
Yeah.
but
That was crazy. Anyway, it's an ongoing discussion. So we're
Agreed.
going to take a short break and we'll be right back on Crosscheck.
1, 2, 3, 4. Boston, for Boston, we sing out refrain. For Boston, till wisdom's earth we play. For here our waterhouse is true, and the towers on the heights wish the heavens are blue. For Boston, till the echoes ring again.
Welcome back to Crosscheck Radio. My name is Andy Bernstein here with two-time Stanley Cup champion.
Him, not me.
He has a slew of T-shirts out there.
A slew.
A slew.
I like one in particular.
One selling for $85.
No, that was the
A
bobblehead.
bobblehead.
No, it's a bobblehead. I'm sorry.
And
then-
they're not Kevin selling them.
No.
But just
No,
be
they're
clear.
Andy's,
No, he didn't put-
Andy's selling them.
That's right. No, it's Paulie. Paulie's selling.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Alex Bezanson from the Substance Abuse Awareness Council.
Something like that.
Yeah, on the bottled water, and Alyssa Horton, recovery specialist. So last week we had a pretty interesting guest.
We
And-
did.
Yes.
Yes, Josh Dolan, local comedian, local up-and-coming comedian in the Boston area. Big hockey guy.
Big hockey guy.
Yeah, he gave us some awesome insight to life on the comedy circuit and talked with us about some hockey.
Yeah.
So let's play that interview.
All right.
Welcome back to Crosscheck Radio. I'm Andy Bernstein here with two-time Stanley Cup winner,
Him, not me.
the pride of Erie.
Erie. Oh, man.
The way Kevin goes to these unbelievable places, destinations, Erie, Winnipeg,
Yeah,
Buffalo.
Good spots.
Good spots, hot spots. And also joining us is Alex Bezanson at the table. Alex is the mayor, the unofficial mayor of Abington, an icon.
Who told you that?
I don't know. I just I just embrace you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
feel the vibe.
Thank you.
Okay. And joining us now is our special guest, Josh Dolan. Josh is a comedian. He is a writer. He's a big hockey guy. Yeah.
Big hockey guy.
Big hockey guy. He does a podcast with Andrew Raycroft, former Bruins goalie.
Little more of a hockey guy.
A little more of a hockey guy.
He played a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're a local guy?
Local, yeah. I'm from a town nobody in here has probably heard of, Air.
Oh, yeah.
Who isn't from Air?
Who is it?
I mean,
I think like 6 people are from Air.
Yeah.
right? So we're going to talk some hockey with these guys.
Yeah, let's just, we can talk about let's just talk about what do you guys do with Andrew? Like, what kind of stuff do you guys, when you do the podcast?
Well, we have a podcast called Breaking the Ice. I started it myself. It was just me, and I'd have like Bruins players on, and I always wanted to have a co-host because I'm better at like bouncing the ball back and forth with someone, and Andrew Raycroft has a little bit more credibility than me when I'm talking about hockey, and I was a big fan of his when I was growing up, and I just asked him one day because I got to know him through doing Bruins alumni events, and he said yes for some reason, and so now he's my co-host.
He's a great guy.
He's awesome.
I've traveled with him a couple of times to Canada, and funny story to me anyway. Andrew Raycroft and Andrew Albert were on the bench in Canada, and I said to myself, I have to take a picture. So I sent it to my son, and I said, boy, do I feel old when these two are alumni. And my son, who's 36, said, boy, do I feel old. Andrew was my favorite player growing up,
I feel old too because like I've known Rick Middleton for a long time and Terry O'Reilly and like those guys. Like I've seen their highlights, but I didn't experience them playing, and I never really understood that. Like when my parents would be like, "You should have seen Bob Orr play." I'm like, I have YouTube, like, but I didn't get what they meant. That, like, I know all those guys, and then for some reason, the first time I went up to go talk to Andrew Raycroft, I was like nervous, and I was like, "Why am I nervous? I talk to NHL people all the time." And I was like, "Oh, that's because like I grew up watching him play. He was on the Bruins when I was in middle school."
So what's your opinion? We all have these great opinions of what happened to Bees. What do you think?
I this is like the first time I've talked hockey since then.
Yeah,
I've been avoiding it, but I have no idea. I think the Blues just woke up at the right time. I still feel like the Bruins were the better team, and they should have won. And in my head, I'm still like, well, they can still win, right? It's
not over.
Completely over.
I used to have those goals goes in sometimes. Is it over? Or can we still take that goal back? But yeah, that's the hardest thing is But St. Louis is St. Louis. They're a good team too. Everybody, we get stuck around here sometimes in Boston saying, how can St. Louis beat the Bruins? Well, they beat Winnipeg, they beat San Jose, they beat some pretty good teams to get to where they got to. So they know how to win too. It's just, I think the Bruins maybe have more talent than them. But we all know doesn't always win, right?
Yeah, I felt like a little bit the maybe just because I'm a biased Bruins fan,
Yeah.
I was like, the St. Louis, the luck's going to run out in the series, and it didn't run out.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because everybody's been saying the luck's going to run out in San Jose when they were down 3-2, and they, when the luck's going to run. Everybody was saying the same thing. How can they keep doing this, right? And then it's all over. We next year.
So how did you get started? Moving on from hockey, how did you get started in comedy? Like, what was your path?
Well, I realized I wasn't going to make the NHL, so that was like up until high school. I don't know what I was thinking, but that was like my plan. Like, if I got an F in a class, I'd be like, "Well, I'm going to play in the NHL." I don't care, man.
It's that easy, huh?
Not thinking it had anything to do with talent or actually hard work, but my senior year of high school, I broke my back playing. That's not the reason I didn't make the NHL. That's why. That's why I stopped
You should
playing
have gone
hockey.
with that, though.
But the next thing I wanted to do was act and like be in movies and stuff, and I always wanted to do comedy, but I was always afraid of public speaking, and like in school, I would always avoid like getting up in front of the class to do like the presentation. I'd be like, nah, just give me the F. That's easier. Just fail me. And so I never thought I would do stand up, and I don't know what caused me to do it, but I did. The first time I ever did comedy was first I dropped out of college because they told me I needed 2 gym credits to get a broadcasting degree. And I was like, what? This is college, right? Okay, so you're just stealing my money. All right, I'm out of here. And so I thought a better path would be take all my money and go to L.A. with no plan. And I just started doing open mics, but I did one show in Boston before I went to L.A., and it was hosted by Tony V, and it was a new comedy competition, like, even if you've never done comedy, come down and try 90 seconds. And I was like, how am I going to talk for 90 seconds? And I was probably 25 seconds away from walking out. I was like, there's no way I can do this. Like, my arms went numb, and I was like, what am I doing? Why? I don't even know why I drove all the way here. And I was getting ready to stand up and walk out of the room, and then Tony V called my name, and I was like, oh, God, I have to go do this now. And I went up and I told my first joke, and there was maybe 300 people in the crowd, and there was just like a wave of laughter.
You were hooked at that point.
It scared me at first because I wasn't expecting laughs. I was like, well, everyone bombs their first time up, and they were laughing, and I kept talking like I wasn't giving them time to laugh. I was like, no, you guys are, I didn't know how to handle it. And then it scared me, but then after I was hooked.
And you've been doing it since.
They give me money now to do it, which is weird.
That's cool, right?
I feel so bad when
Right, but you're living your dream.
I am, yeah.
And you do so many other things, like you appeared in a movie.
He was in The Folklorist.
Yes.
I think there were about 20 episodes.
Yes,
of that.
you reminded me of that. I completely forgot I did that.
Our good friend John Horrigan, who was the announcer for the Bruins alumni, was a narrator for that. And they did about 20 shows, and he'd been after me for years to do it. And they're all historical shows. So I finally had time, and I did the Baltimore plot. I don't know which one you were in.
I don't either.
I saw the Baltimore plot. You sent it to me.
And that was the last one they did, though. So I don't know if it had anything to do with me or not.
Or no, it's Baltimore.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They went out
But
on top.
they did about 20 in the series, and it's still up on YouTube, and Abington shows it on Abington Cam once in a while. But it is a great series with John Horrigan.
So my question to you is, so who's one of your mentors?
Mentor.
Or not mentor, but who was your inspiration in comedy? Is there somebody that you look up to?
Well, I think the reason I finally got on stage was because I would listen to Bill Burr on his podcast back when that was before podcasting was podcasting. And I just listened to him talk about when he started in comedy, and it reminded me a lot of myself. Like, I wanted to do it, but I honestly didn't think I could do it. And just him talking kind of gave me confidence to get up there. He's
Okay.
not necessarily a mentor, but
Not a mentor. It's like a Seinfeld. My mentor and the
Yeah.
mentee, but somebody you look up to or somebody who an inspiration for you. So you would say it was Bill
yeah.
Burr.
And
Okay.
but there's just so many, like Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, like all these guys that I look up to. That like Joe Rogan is such a passionate UFC fan,
Right.
and he's very knowledgeable about it. And I remember having thought like that'd be cool to be like the Joe Rogan of like hockey, but
Yeah, with Kevin Stevens.
Yeah, that's right. That's that's all good stuff. You got a lot going on, but a lot of stuff, which is good, you know.
So we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about the Bruins alumni stuff you're doing.
Sounds good.
And then also, I wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things as well.
all right.
All right, we'll be right back on Crosscheck.
All right.
Are you afraid
Afraid
of us?
No.
Oh,
not
okay,
at
good.
all. I love it.
Good.
4, 3, 2, 1, rolling.
Welcome back to Crosscheck Radio. I'm Andy Bernstein. Crosscheck Podcast. I'm Andy Bernstein.
podcast.
That's right. With Kevin Stevens, two-time Stanley Cup winner, the one, the only Alex Bezanson.
I thought I was the mayor.
I like coming up with nicknames. I'm going to be like Don King. I'm just going to
Oh.
keep coming up with stuff. And we're going to pick
He's
back.
got a lot more hair than you.
He does.
Yeah.
Like a Cupid doll.
It's not good hair though.
No, it's like a Cupid doll. They need a Don King bobblehead. We'll put him right
There we
up on
go.
it, right? Okay, so we're going to pick back up with Josh Dolan. Josh is a comedian. He is a podcaster with Andrew Raycroft, former Bruins goalie. He's also on WAAF.
Yes, there's a lot of things on my business card.
It is, right? Face painting, dunk tanks.
Yep.
So, okay, so you do a lot of work in the community with the Bruins alumni,
Yes.
right? Tell us about that. You're also involved actively
I
with
am.
it.
I'm one of the assistant trainers for the Bruins alumni.
Nice.
So what do you exactly do with them? You skate, you organize games.
Yeah, I started out with there was a few years back. There was someone I knew that was diagnosed with cancer, and I had always remembered going to those like Dennis Leary celebrity games where they played the Bruins alumni, and I was like, I had a lot of friends in the comedy world that I knew played hockey, and I was like, what if we had a comedians team? It would.
That'd be funny.
And then we play the Bruins alumni. I feel like people would pay to see it. And so I contacted Rick Middleton, and we did a few years of raising money for charity, having the comedians pretend to play hockey with the Bruins.
Although Dave Russo is a pretty good hockey player.
He is.
He's got some flow going
Yeah.
too, right? He's got a little
Yeah.
Yeah,
flow.
he's a quick one out there.
Is he, so okay? So I had a couple other questions for you as well. I was reading about Artie Lang. Right?
Yes.
I was mentioning this. Artie Lang, comedian from Stern, has had a big drug problem for a long time.
Huge, yeah.
And Richard Lewis, who's been in sobriety for about 24 years, really spoke out and saying, we really need you and we love you and we're encouraging you. So I guess my question to you is, as a comic, being involved with, the lifestyle, being out, being in bars, etc., what do you think? Do you think there needs to be more fellowship among comics to maybe kind of help others?
I think there kind of is.
Okay.
It's just not advertised really, but I feel like it is a very toxic career, which I have kind of found out, where it's like, even if I don't want to drink, I still find myself like, well, I'm nervous about going on stage, or if I'm doing bad or if I'm doing good.
Right.
And like people in the crowd will buy you beer. Like I did a benefit for, I forget what town it was, like Saugus or Peabody, for the police department, and it was a crowd full of cops, and they kept sending beer up to me. I was like, guys, I have to drive.
Right, are you going to give me a motorcade? Are you going to give me a motorcade?
That's what you're doing here. But yeah, it's a very toxic career. It can be if you don't watch yourself. And I mean, there's a lot of comedians that I know that came up in like the comedy boom, like in the Ding Ho era, like the Lenny Clarks and the Tony V. A lot of those guys are like 98% of them are sober now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
We've had some of them on the show,
Yeah.
and that's what they were saying back in those days. Jimmy Tingle and Joey Carroll.
yeah,
That's what you did. You drank and did a little drugs, and and that was a comedy circuit.
Yeah.
Now these older guys, they've been sober for several years because of that. So what are you seeing with younger guys coming up? Obviously your age and younger. Is it the same environment that it was years ago? Or
I don't think it was. Well, mainly because we're not getting paid in cocaine like they were.
right.
We actually get checks or cash. But a lot of the times we get paid in food and alcohol. And I mean, it is a nerve-wracking thing. Like I have social anxiety, and like even when I'm doing like TV or something, or like I feel like I'm nauseous before I go on stage, and if I have like 2 beers or something or a shot, then it takes the edge off, and then it doesn't necessarily make you funnier, but it can help you with, because people don't want to pay you to see, I mean, yeah, they don't want to pay to see you shy.
Right.
They can be nervous on stage themselves. They're paying to see someone perform and be funny and confident. And
Right.
I guess sometimes you can, or for me at least, I can trick myself into.
Yeah, right. You can flip a switch and like
Yeah.
put on the.
But then there's nights where I'm like, I don't want to drink, and I'm like, I get to the venue, I'm like, I have to. I don't want to, but I have to.
right.
Well, and that's exactly what Joey Carroll said.
Right.
That was how he was 25 years ago.
Right.
And then he finally just made the decision that I'm going to go with it.
Right.
And he hasn't, and he said he needed the drinks in order to relax and get on stage and tell his jokes, but he doesn't do that now.
Yeah, which is, a lot of the guys, I think, like Josh said, this, I know a lot of the comedians too that are sober because, we're in that world, but, and sometimes you wonder, how they're going to be, right? How's it all going to work? Because they were crazy when I used to see them earlier in their careers,
Yeah.
And now they've got sober and they're still as crazy as they ever been or better because they can kind of like do their thing, which sometimes it's, we all want to see, we get sober, what it's going to be like, especially comedian-wise. But, I just think everybody gets better, with life, and I think it gets easier for those guys, just like it gets easier for anybody in addiction,
Yeah, because like I said, the alcohol doesn't make you funny.
Yeah.
You're funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, sometimes I feel bad when I'm on stage where I'm like, I'm tricking these poor people. I'm not actually funny. I'm just acting like like you guys have no idea. I came up with these jokes. Like,
Yeah.
but it doesn't make you funny. And I think like those guys that got sober, their brain is probably like more like an organized file cabinet now, and they're just as good or even better.
Yeah, they're good.
They're treating it as a profession, right? This is their craft now.
But like sometimes I have that thought where I'm like, I want to see what happens when I go up on stage after like not drinking for a week and not drink on stage or like right before the show, and I'm like, I can't do it. I need it.
Right? Right, and that kind of comes with the social anxiety too.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of those guys have given me advice on that, and I mean some of it's funny. Like Ken Rogerson said, if you ever do stop drinking, you never ever go out on a 1 beer night. He said you've got to wait until you're puking blood and then you quit.
And then, right.
Like, all right.
Right. If you're going to be a bear, you might as well
Yeah. Don't go out on a 1 beer night.
be a grizzly. Well, we're going to take a break, and can you stick with us one more second?
I'll hang out all day.
All right, cool, because that's what we do here,
We just hang out all day.
right? The life of Andy. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back on Crosscheck. All right, so then we'll
You want
close
to
out.
take it home, Alyssa?
Yeah, this is our last segment. So
Yeah.
Pause.
yeah,
3, 2, 1, roll. Rolling.
Welcome back to Crosscheck Radio. I'm Andy Bernstein here with two-time Stanley Cup champion, the greatest looking man in the history of hockey.
And today, Kevin Stevens, right? And Alyssa Horton's back at the table, recovery specialist, cackler.
Is that your nickname on the show, the cackler?
Now it is.
Yeah. See, we got it. We got it.
She's got a lot of them.
We got it. And then we're going to pick back up with Josh Dolan, comedian, radio show.
You don't have to list them all. It's all right.
All right,
No,
just comedian.
Many hats.
I pretend to do a lot of things.
Right? Jack of all trades.
Yes.
All right. On that note, you have a lot of things coming up.
Well,
Not a lot.
Not a lot. I mean, I took the summer from stand up to write more. No, not really. I just
Took the summer.
Summer.
I mean, summer's slow for comedy anyway, but the fall time, look for tour dates around Massachusetts. I'll be at a VFW near you soon.
Right.
Yeah, nice.
Elks Lodge.
Yep.
Yeah,
Those, I love those gigs. And
No. But you do, you're going to tour.
well, I wouldn't call it a tour. I'll be places.
Okay. All right.
Not JoshDolan.com.
Okay. Now, but you're also going to do more writing.
Yeah. Not for my stand up. I cover the Bruins for WAF, and I'm on the air at WAF. But I this past season I wrote for them. I don't know why. I almost failed English in high school, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to be our head writer for hockey?" And I was like, "All right, God bless America."
Sure, right? What a country, right?
I mean, my English teacher was like, "This sentence doesn't make any sense." And
What you at? Were you every day at the with the Bruins, or just
Yeah.
covered them every day, huh?
yeah.
Oh wow.
And then for every game, I would write a recap, and I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm writing. I'm just,
Right.
just group a bunch of words together and then send it out. And
That's awesome though, because you love hockey, so this
I
gives
do.
you a chance. Who's some of the best players that you've met when you're doing
they're
it?
all awesome. When he was still on the Bruins, I used to do Facebook Live interviews with the station's account, and I would do a lot with Frank Vetrano, and
Yeah.
he was. Me and him could just go back and forth.
He's a Springfield guy, right? He's out with
Yeah.
you. He's out that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the other guys that I like doing content with is Brandon Carlo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you, I also read that you proposed to your wife before.
Most people do propose to their wife. That's what happens.
You
when
didn't
get-
let me
when you
finish.
get married.
Let me finish. No,
I'm sure his is
I
more
hope he pro-
romantic
I
than
hope-
my experience.
I hope
but
he
that's yes.
proposed.
no, he
You
proposed.
didn't propose?
Yeah, but that's what we do when you ask
No,
someone
no,
to
no,
marry.
no. You proposed before you opened up for Lenny Clark, right?
Yeah. Well, that's how it was supposed to work. It didn't work out that way. I was supposed to do it during my act when I was opening for Lenny, and then Lenny's brother, who owns the comedy club Giggles, Mike Clark, he was like, "No, don't do it during your act because that'll throw the whole show off." And so, her family and friends were there. My friends and family were there, and they all knew I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And they were all waiting for it during my act. And then I said, "All right, thanks everyone," and I left, and they were all like, "He bailed." Oh my God, he bailed.
Yeah.
And then I went up after Lenny's set was done, and I did it there, and I bombed that night. I was, I couldn't remember my jokes, and I was thinking like, the ring's in my pocket. Don't lose it. Don't lose it.
But you did it.
I did.
And you've been married how long?
Under 2 years.
Okay.
It's a little over a year. but
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, thank you for coming on and giving.
Thanks for having me. This
Yeah,
is a
thanks,
nice
yeah.
setup. I feel like we're on Wayne's World 2. With
Exactly.
the countdown and everything.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, right?
Me and Andrew Raycroft's podcast is I just pull some audio equipment out of my backpack and I stick my phone to the wall with some gum and hit record.
Right, I watched it. It's great though. You're like
Thank you.
just chilling in the thing. Give the address for that too.
Oh, it's Breaking the Ice podcast on iTunes and Spotify and everywhere you can find podcasts, and WAF.com. They just picked that up. for some reason. I don't know why people keep.
They like you.
They like you.
Yeah.
You're funny.
They
Why,
like you.
though?
You've made me cackle. I can't explain it. You just
The
got
cackler.
something.
We're gonna make
The
T-shirts.
cackler. The
Oh,
cackler.
Shoot.
Well,
1, 2, 3, 4. Boston, for Boston, we sing out round and free. For Boston, till wisdom sets me free. For here our water hearts are true, and the towers on the heights wish the heavens are blue. For Boston, till the echoes ring again. For Boston, till the echoes ring again.
welcome back to Crosscheck. My name is Andy Bernstein, here with two-time Stanley Cup champion, rocking the little polo shirt today.
Yeah, nice, isn't it?
Yeah, the one, the only, Kevin Stevens. Thanks to Josh Dolan for coming on. He was great guest. It was cool of him to come down and spend some time with us. So let's welcome our new guests on the set here today. Joining us now, direct from Connecticut, is Selfish Steam. These guys are using their power of music to support recovery from alcoholism and addiction. Selfish Steam has been dubbed by the media as friends in recovery that music touches the soul. Let's welcome Tony Morosi, Peter Manning, and Joe Venito, the brother of our friend Paulie V. Welcome, guys.
I don't know if
Thank
that's
you.
good or bad. You know,
It's good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good. Joe's a good guy.
But yeah, welcome, guys. It's
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
good to
You
be
guys
here.
do great stuff. And so let's just talk about a little bit. How did this all come together? I know sobriety is huge, guy, in your other guys' lives and as well as mine. So how did this all come together?
Well, we met in jail.
That's not laughable. Sometimes.
I'm kidding.
We all go there.
I'm kidding. No, it came on. Originally, I had another partner. He's dead now, and God bless his soul. Okay, we're gonna get a little closer. My mustache. Oh, there's a story I'll tell you about my mustache and a mic. but
Like
later
Raleigh
on.
Fingers.
Anyway, 20-something years ago, I wanted to get clean. And I was at one of those meetings down by the Y and went in there and I heard this guy speaking. See, I didn't think there was anybody that did the stuff I used to do.
Yeah.
And so if you knew what I used to do, you wouldn't want to talk to me or nothing. So anyway, I went to one of these meetings and there was this guy speaking and and he was worse than me. So I knew then, and I heard my stuff too in his story, and I talked to him about me, and he said, I'll tell you what, we run an open mic because I'm a musician, and I never had a guitar to play because I always sold them for drugs. And so he says, I'll tell you what, if you go to a few of these meetings with me, he says, I'll take you to this open mic we have at Windsor Recovery Club in Windsor, Connecticut, and we can play some songs together. And I said, okay, sure. And so he tricked me into getting sober, is what happened.
Yeah.
We did go to the open mic, and I went in front of everybody. I had a harmonica thing on, and there was about 200 people at this open mic. And I was so nervous, I blew into my microphone and sang into the harmonica, but when I blew into the microphone, I got my mustache stuck in the mic. So that was a mustache thing.
He
but
still does that.
I do not. And the rest is history. We got together. I got a bunch of sober musicians together, and we were playing other people's stuff, and like some Dead tunes and stuff like that, and some other crazy stuff, and decided to write music because I had a lot up here to write about. And we got a band together, and here we are.
And in your music, a lot of the stuff you do and the writing is all about your personal stories.
Correct. Yep.
Give us some examples.
Well, there's a song called Stolen Cars and Redneck Bars, and it's self-explanatory. Takes What It Takes is another one of my songs, and our songs, because we've molded my lyrics into in the music, and the whole band did that.
Okay.
Yeah. So how's it, Joe? How's it feel for you guys? To be out there singing. Obviously a lot of sober people out there looking for ways out, right? Your music is always something that we all look for, and it helps people get sober. So you guys may not even know how many people you're helping out there, right?
Correct.
You know,
yeah.
Kevin, you said something earlier in this thing, talking about the Narcan thing. I didn't believe in it because, you know, I thought it was an excuse to get higher or whatnot. But you said it's that 9th time or that 8th time and somebody gets it. Well, it didn't take me the first time. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
it
no.
took me a couple times. And I was in the band thinking I was sober, and I wasn't. So what we go out
We
and
knew
do...
he wasn't.
Yeah. So what happens with us is we go and we play these treatment centers or we play these festivals, and later people will come up, like years later, they'll come back and say, that song that you did really touched me, and it helped me. It helped me get through a tough time. Or when they were sober, it helped me through a tough time while I was sober to get there. Like one of the songs we're going to play today is like my life story. And it's just, he wrote it and I lived it. You know what I mean? It's just, so they mean something. When we play them, we're not playing covers. This is what we did.
Right.
And it makes a real big difference.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing is that you guys are playing music that, you know, a lot of us, you know, we know the story. Like if you're not an addict, you know,
Yeah,
the addicts
right?
and the drunks that are there, we know the same. You know, it's like being at a meeting. Something we know that story. We hear that story.
And
you
the
know?
people that aren't one of us,
Yeah.
oh, that's a great song. you
Well,
know what I
we
mean?
certainly can't play in bars because they would throw stuff at us for sure.
The owners probably, right?
You know, they start yelling, "Free Bird!" You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
We played
Yeah,
next to a
it's,
bar one time outside.
we did do that. Yes,
Which
we did.
was-
We
They
did.
threw stuff at us.
They
Yeah.
threw stuff at us too.
And you had some thoughts going back to the Narcan thing. You had some thoughts on the Narcan.
Well, yeah. You know, I was listening to you guys earlier, and you know, I have a daughter that's. I had to go down to Florida, and I got a call from a friend of mine. You know, we sent her down to treatment in Florida. I have a friend that owns a treatment center down there. It's called Recovery Unplugged, and Richie Supa, you know, he's a big part of that, and him and I played together before. We played at 12-Step Music Fest down in Key West, and my daughter was hurting, you know, and she started doing things that drug addicts do. Like, stuff was missing from my home all the time, and then my daughter started getting in trouble. And so he says, get her on a plane and we'll meet her at the airport. And I said, okay, easy enough. So we did. And she went down there and got sober, and it was great. She went to a halfway house, excuse me. I've got a little laryngitis from recording the last 2 days. So today might not be too good. But anyway, she got out of the halfway house. They sent her to another sober house, or she went to another sober house, and it wasn't a real sober house. And I found her on the internet. She disappeared, and I found her on the internet, and I didn't even recognize her. You know, it was a mugshot of her. So I have a friend down there, Palm Beach County detective, and he found her, and she was working the streets, and he said, you need to come down now, and we need to get a Marchman Act. It's called a Marchman Act, and we'll get her, we'll pick her up, and so we did. You know, I went down there. She hated me, but she's sitting here today up here, a year and a half clean,
Nice.
and you know,
She looks great. She looks like a totally
Yeah.
different
looks
person.
gorgeous,
Totally
and she's
different
got
person.
she's got a car, she's got a job, and
That's
you know
awesome.
what, you know what happened is I stayed away. You know, it's hard to stay away from an addict. You know,
Yeah.
especially when they're your kid. But I had to say no, I don't have any money. Go to the soup kitchen. You know, because I always used to. My wife and I used to send her money. You know, and then we've got hip to that, so we started sending gift cards, but they'd sell them. You know, and so it's all good.
You had a pizza delivered to a
Pizza-
parking lot.
Yep, I
right?
had a pizza delivered
Yeah.
to a parking
That's
lot.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. But that's a great story. Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Thanks for sharing that. You're quiet.
Right here.
Joe's never quiet.
Joe's never
No, he's
quiet.
not.
No.
Now, how long have you guys? How long have you been with the man?
Well, what happened with me was I've played music most of my life in the barroom scene and nightclubs and whatnot. And, I had a lot of good times and a lot of bad times. And when I got a phone call from a gentleman saying that Tony was auditioning drummers, and I was like, well, they're from Connecticut. You know, I'm not going to go all the way to Connecticut. And
I
so-
said, he's from Boston. We
Yeah.
don't want nobody from Boston.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But,
Especially with an accent.
I gave him a call, and we talked on the phone for about a good hour, and it was like I've known him for years and years. And, you know, I've experienced a lot of different shows, and I ended up with Tony, and we did The Sober in the Sun. And when I could hear the audience singing his music over the instruments, the hair in the back of my neck was standing up. And I knew that was it. I was like, this is it. So something that alcohol and drugs took me away from that I love doing, playing music. And now I'm playing music to try to save a life, you know, with these great guys.
Yeah, that's great stuff. You know, it's and like you said, it saves lives, right? This is, you know, there's so many different ways. Sobriety, you know, we talk about Narcan, but there's so many different ways people like to stay sober. And you guys are all over the place. You guys travel all over the place, right?
Yeah.
We have. We sent our songs into this contest. We recorded a song called our CD called Lost in Recovery a few years ago, and we sent it off to LA to this music awards. They're the Prism Awards, and it's the entertainment industry's Clean and Sober Awards, you know, for creative writing in drug addiction and in movies, drug addiction, and it has to do with everything like that. So we got a letter back saying, come on to Beverly Hills, and you guys are nominated for a Prism Award. And so we all got on a plane, went to Beverly Hills, and got to hang out with
Our buddy Chuck, right?
Chuck.
Chuck Negron.
Chuck Negron. He's the one that gave me the award.
Oh,
actually.
did he?
Yeah. And Lou Diamond Phillips was there, and
Jeannie.
Barbara Eden. There was a bunch of people there. It was like, what are we doing here?
That's awesome.
And but anyway, we won. We won the Prism Award. You know.
Nice.
So you're an award-winning group now.
Absolutely.
So you're going to play us some songs.
Sure we will.
Okay.
If we knew how.
If you knew how, Ted Nugent. He introduces himself to me as Ted Nugent.
And you knew who he was. You got to understand, you do that nowadays, people don't know who Ted Nugent is. They're
really.
too young.
Right?
You know what I mean?
And I should have asked you where your bow was.
Yeah, right?
All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Selfish Steam.
All right.
All right.
And the odd couple.
So don't
is
throw us like
here.
in the same.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin and I know what we're doing.
Been sitting there for 20 minutes waiting to finish this.
Butt buddies.
We got a couple of prima donna queens over here.
Yeah.
Look, I'm glad that it's labeled as like I'm a
10,
queen.
9,
Nope.
8,
Diva.
7, 6,
Late.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back to Crosscheck Radio Podcast.
Radio podcast.
Radio Podcast. I'm Andy Bernstein, here with two-time Stanley Cup champion, the
The
only,
big guy.
the big guy.
The best looking guy in the NHL.
That was yes.
35 years ago, yeah.
We went to meet. We had a meeting with Dr. Wecht, right? It's Dr. Cyril Wecht. We went into his office. Kevin's like, "Boy, is he old." Right, that's the thing Kevin said. But the lady
like,
was
"Yeah."
so excited that he was there. She actually ran off a copy of his picture off the internet
She
to
was,
get it signed.
she was 65 too.
Right.
Wasn't like she was 40. I played a long time ago.
It was like, oh my God. And Dr. Wecht was like, I don't know. He was
great.
anyway. So what do you think of our show this week, my friend?
It's great. I can't wait to listen to the music.
I know we're going to hear from Selfish Steam in a minute. They're going to take us out with a great segment.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Gal.
we're going to hear from them. What say
Great
you?
show as always. Always great show. Always great guests.
Yeah, we had some.
And a live studio audience again today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Rocking and rolling.
I know this is a big production, a lot different than radio, right?
I think they just come for the pizza and fruit,
Yeah.
though.
Oh, I'm
and the
so
cookies.
glad I
Well,
get
listen,
fed
that's why
here.
Alyssa comes.
That's why I come.
But in all seriousness, if you need help or you're
Yeah.
Reach out to
us.
Forward.
right, powerforward25.com and go to our contact us page, and we're happy to get you to somebody that can help you if you're struggling with addiction, or somebody in your family struggling.
Or you
Right.
want some guidance or anything.
We have people reach out. Alyssa and I had someone reach out a couple of weeks ago. I had someone else, 18-year-old kid. Someone reached out to me over the weekend. So we are helping people. So don't be afraid to reach out to us.
Right, and which is, in all honesty, that's why we're doing this show.
That's why we're here.
Right,
Even though
taking
we
the
have fun
barrier.
and we try to laugh, I mean, ultimately, our hope is that we want to help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's all we're all here for one reason, right? It's it's nice that we come together and do the show. But if we're not helping anybody, if no one's listening, then it's it's no good. So it's actually whatever we can do, we try to do, and that's all we can do. But we try to have guests on, different type of people. Like we have the band on today. It's a recovery band, and everybody. I think music, in recovery is kind of like the same type of, people love music. People love to listen to music. Kind of brings them back, which these guys are great. So it should be looking forward to hearing the boys play.
Yep,
Pumped.
So so that's our show for the week. Mm-hmm. Thanks to everybody.
And thank you to the audience.
Yep.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, and we're going to hear from Selfish Team. They're going to take us out.
All right.
See you next week.
Bye.
We're gonna go right ahead. Okay. You can cut that little blurb right there. So, I gotta tell you this. December 31st, was it, Lori? 2016. I got a call for a new liver, and we had an hour to get to Hartford Hospital, and it was because, and I'm standing here right now with my new liver and no cancer. So. It was because of all of you that helped me get clean and sober that I was able to go on the list. I had to go on the list, and it took an act of Congress to get on that. Well, never mind. So it did take a long time to get on that, and finally we did, and we got that phone call, and I'm standing here. So those of you that have liver issues because of your drinking, I'm standing here to tell you that you can get to the other side. So next song is, we'll do Long Cold Winter?
Yeah, my story.
Peter, when I met him, he was a millionaire. He actually was. He was a little spoiled brat. And he had a studio like this in his house, okay? And it wasn't this big, but it was stuff. He had stuff everywhere. And you know what? We were supposed to go down to New Orleans and play at a sober jam in 2004. And he was newly to our band, newly sober, new to our band. And he goes over to Germany on a business trip. And we're getting ready, we already got plane tickets, and we're getting ready to go down there. And he calls me from Germany and says, I'm going to treatment, dude. I can't go to sober jam with you. And I went, oh no. So anyway,
I started in recovery, seriously. That's how I started in this band.
he lost his house, he lost his family, he lost everything. And now, to this day, he's struggling, but he's still with us, and he's not giving up.
I'm sober.
He's sober, he's clean and sober, but I mean, to get everything back like that, it takes a while, but I mean, he's a miracle. He's just like I am and just like you guys are, So this thing's called Long Cold Winter. It's a long, cold winter when you're out there on the street and not a dime in your pocket. You ain't got nothing to eat. You used to have it all, at least that's what I recall. How's it feel to be so small when you used to stand so tall? stand so tall. Well, it wasn't over yet. You lost the house, the car came next, and now you're out there on the street. You need a fix and you gotta eat, so you do what you gotta do, even if it means turn a trick or two. I know it's sad, but it's true. It could happen, could be you. Well, it's a long Thank you. Forgot a verse, but that's okay. Okay. So, as you know, we are playing originals here, and I wrote it, but I still forget the lyrics.
Well, we can't screw it up because they're originals.
Right. Hey, you got a pick?
I don't.
You don't have a pick? You got a pick? You don't use it? He's got a pick?
Hold on. He's got to pick. You got to see the shirt. Can we do this? Hold on. You got to see the shirt. Look at.
Oh, look at you.
Look at this thing. Look. To the camera.
This should be you. Do you want the shirt for the last song? This should be you. You good to your wood.
That's great.
So anyway, we are Labor Day weekend. We play at this on Saturday night. It's probably September 1st or August. It's Labor Day weekend. Sober in the Sun. If you go to www.soberinthesun.org, get your tickets. Come on out. We got bands all weekend. Dances. There's teen dances. There's children's dance, children's stuff. There's zoo. There's camping. 400 acres to camp.
It's a lot of fun. We've been
a lot of
doing
fun.
it for about
20 years?
20 years, and
Yeah. Comedy show. We got a comedy show every week, every Sober in the Sun. So workshops, bonfire meetings, haircuts. Yeah. Tattoos, yeah. So this next song's called I've Been There Too.
Yeah, I know. 'Cause I've been there too. And I know. 'Cause we've been there too. Dankeschön, meine Damen und Herren. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
That's a wrap. Okay, and then you guys are going to